Everybody watching this, hello, this is Paul. I am the creator and founder of Kulture Popped, and today I'm bringing you something very, very special, something kind of monumental for our little news and entertainment website here. We are doing our very first ever video interview with Mr. JOSH PAIS. And we are speaking with Mr. PAIS because we are celebrating 30 years. Well, technically now we're in 2021. This is something we had set up for a little bit ago, but you know, COVID is amazing. To talk about the 30th anniversary of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and also get into some cool stuff that Mr. PAIS is working on now and what we can hope to hear in the future. So, Josh, thank you so much for accepting this interview. We've done one interview before, and this is our first ever actual video interview.
I think it's going really well so far.
Right. The 19 seconds that we have together, I have cherished them already, and I will never forget them.
I mean, maybe we could just stop now and while we're ahead.
Good. That sounds good. All right. Thank you so much. You know, me, myself being such a big pop culture fan and watching the original movie in the theaters, knowing the franchise growing up, I still collect the toys and everything like that. You know, I've always wanted to look beyond the movie and know what went on with the movie behind the scenes. And you've done tons of interviews. You know, I've seen a bunch of them over the years. I kind of wanted to try and, you know, ask some questions that were a little different.
Right.
And, you know, my first question I wanted to ask was that when you accepted the role as Raphael, right? I had no idea up until recently that not only did you do the in-costume acting, you also did the voice. So were you originally hired for that? That was a factoid that I just found out. Were you originally hired as the character or the voice or both?
I mean, when we were all hired, all four of us, I just thought we would all be doing the voice. I thought we would all be doing everything. And I think, you know, I don't know why for the other guys they didn't, you know, use their voice because they're awesome. But my voice was, I mean, I think not why they chose me over, you know, others, but, you know, I had so ingrained the physicality with the New York thing that they felt like they couldn't get anybody else to do the voice.
Cricket? Nobody understands cricket. You gotta know what a crumpet is to understand cricket.
They were like, nobody else could do this. You have to do it. Yeah. So I was hired to do both, and was, happy. You know, it wouldn't have been the same if somebody else did it.
Right. Now, was that, and again, you know, knowing movie magic and everything, the voiceovers and whatnot, was that something where you just went in after the movie was done, you completely re-recorded your lines, say like in a sound booth?
Well, while we were filming, we were saying the lines, but because we were, you know, we're inside these heads, a lot of it was like this, so the recording quality had, you know, wasn't usable. But we rehearsed we rehearsed for about 3 weeks. We also trained for about 4 months prior to filming, just in martial arts. And then, but we spoke, you know, we were all talking to one another. You know, we were all doing the lines while we were filming, and then later, you know, did the track that you actually hear in the movie.
So you were doing all the lines, you were doing the physical activity. Scale of 1 to 10, how physically taxing was it? I think that the suits weighed like what, 60, 70 pounds, something like that?
50 pounds. Beyond, like, you can't, like, pushed constant, day after day, like, pushed to your edge of what you could handle.
I can even lift a side by the time that the day was over. Okay.
The weight wasn't the biggest issue. The biggest issue was the heat, because you felt like your blood was boiling in the costume, and the lack of oxygen, because, you know, weren't getting a lot of, you know, when we would cut, they would shoot compressed air into our faces so we could breathe. And then the other element was that we could barely see in a lot of the scenes, so we just had to feel what was happening and move accordingly.
So a lot of danger, a lot of risk. So you were in the suit, you did the voice, but Ken Scott was a stunt double, right? For high risk stuff. Now,
Yep.
Were you guys on set a lot together, like quick swap out switch scene, or was it sort of like they filmed the high risk scene separately?
Sometimes there was crossover, and sometimes I would go into a fight scene, and then, if there was like a flip and landing up, in the garbage can, that was not me. So sometimes there was, it was very fluid, and sometimes it was shot, certain sequences were shot separately.
Now, you guys had any, decent amount of interaction together despite those scenes? Like, do you still like keeping, when was the last time, when was your last memorable contact?
Who I keep in touch with is Leaf.
Okay.
Played Michelangelo.
Yeah.
And then I see Michelin from time to time as well, but Leaf and I are the really the only ones that we'll stay in touch. Like if I'm excuse me, if I'm in New York now, but if I'm in LA, like I always reach out to him. We always do something, hang out,
I believe I recall an interview from Entertainment Tonight with you and Michelin that I have a question for you about a little bit later, kind of like a little like trivia thing when I was, going back and doing all my stuff.
Okay.
Obviously, you had the comic books, which started everything. You had the animated series, then the toys and all that. And then you had your movie that, came out in 1990. Back in 1990, did you have any idea that it would still be going this hard with, reimaginings and stuff like that? Like, okay, I was a very, impressionable age, so to speak, when this movie came out. From how you remember, how was it perceived then compared to how it's perceived now? Like, do you have any idea it was going to be this much of a cultural phenomenon three decades later?
I mean, I knew when I was at the premiere and watched like the opening credits and the whole, like I really had a sense this is going to be something. Like this is definitely going to be something. Did I imagine that I would be talking about it this many years later? No. Did I know that it would impact so many people's lives? No. When we were filming, I was just trying to survive.
Right. Okay. And you were around like what, 30, 31 when you were filming, give or take?
I think I was a little younger than that.
Okay.
Around there. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so with it going as long as it has, it's been 1990 and so on. Here we are in 2021. Someone throws something on your desk that involves you getting back into some sort of role, whether it be, another reboot, or some type of continuation of the story. Would you consider hopping back into some type of role? And would you rather be?
You mean a ninja? You're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Something of that role. Now, I know, and I don't know if a lot of people realize this, that you actually had two roles in the original movie. You had a cameo in the taxi cab, right?
Yes.
What the heck was that?
Looked like sort of a big turtle in a trench coat. You're gonna look wild, you right?
That was, there was a discussion, and all of us, the actors and Steve Barron, the director, all thought it would be just a great idea for us to appear in the movie, out of costume. Yeah. And I don't think that, there wasn't any, I think I don't remember exactly, but I saw that role in the script and I was like, why don't I do that? And I can relate to me in costume rolling over the cab while I'm in the cab, which is such a great.
It's such a great Easter egg. That's the sort of stuff that I absolutely live for, which is so incredibly cool. Now, talking about, was entertainment tonight correct? Did you sneak on for another cameo?
No.
This is a very old. It was a very old interview. We're talking it looks like someone transferred it from VHS to put it on YouTube.
But I think I snuck on to do another cameo.
Yeah. You and I forget who you were in the interview with, but it was a 2-minute long video on YouTube. When we put this on our YouTube, I'll put the link in the description below. But I kid you not, it looks like someone ripped it from their terrestrial cable, put it on VHS, and then uploaded it to YouTube. Said that it was an interesting part of trivia. John Tesh, I believe, talking about it, saying it's an interesting part of trivia how they snuck on set for another cameo. Maybe back then he was talking about your second role that no one had really talked. Who knows what it could have evolved back then? But
right.
Here it is, 30 years later. You've had such a long, incredible career. And again, doing my research, was your very first on screen for the Cosby Show Waterworks episode? Was that like numero uno, or is there something super small?
That was the first thing I did on television. Okay. Prior to that, the first movie that I had a small part in was a movie called Jackknife. And I had great movie. I had a couple little scenes opposite Robert De Niro, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And then Cosby Show was my first TV job.
Okay. Boy, you've done a lot. So, speaking of that, loved to absolutely hate your character on Ray Donovan. Now, every interview I've ever seen you do, anytime I've ever seen you talk to someone, and I'm talking to you right now, you can tell that you enjoy what you do. How do you get into the mindset of being such a expletive to deleted role when you have something like that? Because if I recall, I haven't seen you be that much of an outward, I guess you could say, antagonist to anyone in your work so far. That one, you were like over. I love to hate you on that. How does something like that work? Like from the actor's mind?
I mean, I work physically, and all of our imaginations are connected to our physicality. And by shifting in a sense, the energetic patterns in the body, it will shift, it will trigger the creativity and shift the behavior, if that makes sense.
I'm sensing some committed impulse.
Yeah, that's
stuff peeking through. Okay. We'll get it. I definitely want to talk more about that.
So it's basically finding the physicality of the character and then letting that trigger my impulses to let it take over. And basically with Stu Feldman on Ray Donovan, he's a guy that has everything. He's the head of a movie studio. He's got women, he's got money, he's got the cars, but he's completely empty on the inside. Like nothing is fulfilling that gap on the inside, and is trying to feel important, but just doesn't feel important. And so as a result of that, it generates a kind of behavior of kind of challenging or trying to put, with Ray, in particular, trying to dominate him, which is kind of impossible, but the attempt to try to dominate those around so that he feels like he's the man. That was part of like, how can I physicalize that? And then it was also one thing that when we were shooting the pilot, the director of the pilot said, in between takes, he came up and he said, "This reminds me of this studio guy that I know that could never feel comfortable in his own skin." and almost like he was trying to get out of his own skin because he was so uncomfortable. And that was like a great image for me of just him, like somebody that can't get comfortable and is like really trying to get comfortable. And and so that kind of generated a whole life for this guy.
So it was kind of sort of based on someone real, like nods, like the description that you heard from someone. I was going to ask if it was based on maybe someone that you know, but it sounds like you were kind of given...
Based on like a conglomerate of producers.
Okay.
Yeah, not one guy, but a conglomerate of producers. And I'm also always fascinated by assholes. Like if I see like, it's always like if I see like somebody doing some real asshole stuff, like in a restaurant or somewhere, like I'm just, it's like, it's so, well, it's annoying, but it's so entertaining. Like, I can't believe you're doing that.
How do you live that life? Like,
Yeah,
how do you go on your days being that way?
Kind of mesmerizing on some level. It's disturbing, but it's also, you can't look away. And so, you know, I think Stu has some of those elements as well.
I can see that. I could see him causing a fuss in a restaurant because the steak is medium rare. Stu seems like a well done steak kind of guy. Just, you know, so like I like the word that you use, conglomerate, as well too, because it kind of like creeps into the fact that you've played 8 characters on Law and Order over its. Oh my gosh! Like
done your homework.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: is that I kind of live and breathe pop culture. You know, this website is obviously not my full-time job. I run a web design and marketing agency as my full-time job. This is like I love. This is, you know, my other passions and stuff like that. So I like knowing stuff. So when when it came up that had the chance to interview you, I took the stuff that I already knew, but then I kind of want to do like a deep dive. And awesome. I watched Law and Order over the years, but like I was never like watching it every single week when it came on, and I would always catch it. And to find out that you played, you know, so many different characters in the Law and Order universe over the years, I was just like, man, that is like, you know, what was it? I think 22nd season. This is the season right now of Law and Order, and it's just like, you know, how does that work for someone?
Jail.
Yeah. It's like, how long do you know? How does something like that work for you with being involved in a show for that long, but not necessarily being, you know, one of the detectives that's on it all the time? Is that just like they got your number on speed dial, like, hey, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the very first season of, you know, they call it the Mothership, you know, the very first Law and Order, and that was the only TV show other than some soap operas that was filming in New York. Right. That was it. And so, I was so grateful to be able to get to work on that show. And, you know, I did one episode and then they just kept bringing me back. And then basically, I think it's either 18 or 24 months, like after, you know, if you've done a character that ends, like that story arc ends, after 18 or 24 months, you could come back as somebody else.
In their world timeline or real world timeline?
Real world timeline.
Okay.
Right, so
Law and SVU universe timeline, or okay.
Yeah. So that time would pass and that you'd be, you know, you wouldn't.
Haircut, different shirt color.
Right.
So I'm fascinated by how that stuff works.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Law and Order just helped so many working actors, you know, like myself, just, you know, stay in the game for a while.
Right.
It was awesome.
Now is
great training, just amazing training.
Well,
very testosterone set.
Yeah, you know, a lot of potential perps got their asses kicked on that set. Yeah. You know, so it's like I can imagine what type of environment that is. Now, is favorite role you've ever played? I won't be offended if it's not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. If you could think back and be like, man, this time was something that still to this day sticks out to me almost clear as day. Do you have one, or is it just you kind of seem like a general appreciation type guy?
I don't. I mean, it's literally whatever I'm working on is my favorite. Like, honestly.
In the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I just did a movie in Ukraine that, just an amazing role, amazing story, and, I'm the number one, I'm the lead of the movie, and so that was great to be in that position as well. And I just, I feel like I did my best work ever in that. It'll probably be out in a year or so. It's called Check Out.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I did what else comes to mind is a movie I did with the great director Lynn Shelton, who is no longer with us, sadly. A movie called Touchy Feely, like just an indie movie. Just that was a spectacular experience, beautiful movie. I mean, so many. I love doing Ray Donovan. I'm just, this.
I love the general appreciation that you have. It's not like
I love the art form of acting. I love the challenge of it. I feel like I'm a student of it.
Right.
Still of just learning, like, how can I bring more and more of myself to everything that I'm doing? How can I work from outside of my head and be spontaneous, and make choices that are fun to watch? It's just, I love it. I absolutely love it, and I'm, I feel so grateful that I get to work as steadily as I do.
It's good. It's like it's just still very cool, like hearing that passion, and all these years later, after everything that you've been doing, it's very refreshing here. I know that there's a lot has happened over the past year in the world and stuff like that, and everyone's had to adapt their lives, and just speaking to you with still having so much positivity, and it at least from my end, it seems like you're still fairly busy. Like you said, you just got back from Ukraine. I won't try and press you too much on the Ukraine thing. I would love to hear more about it.
I can tell you a little bit about it.
Okay.
I can tell you a little bit about it, that I play an American who got enlisted by Mossad, which is the Israeli spy, organization. And it's a real, true movie about really what it's like to be a spy. And a lot of the people on the movie were very connected to Mossad. And so they know what it's really like. And it's not James Bond. It's actually, you have to go, for example, go to a hotel, stay there for 3 months, keep an eye out, and so you're not on these exciting missions. Those are rare.
No casino nights, no train tunnel.
No, like that but that's why people go into it thinking it's going to have this amazing thing, and so my character starts to lose it because it's like he's starting to become like delusional because he hasn't had the action. He starts to make up stuff and gets into a whole kind of builds himself into this narrative that's not real, and gets himself into a situation.
That already sounds exciting. I like the idea of just the
so good.
It's like funny, expectation versus reality.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
One of the big things that we also focus here on the site is I'm a collector. I'm a big collector of pop culture memorabilia. Do you collect anything like at all? Like skeleton keys, pieces of wood behind you there? Like, is there anything that you collect?
That's firewood.
Okay. All right. Okay. I collect fake bricks. These are very nice.
I collect firewood, but then burn it.
Okay. All right. Well, now, I think the last time I saw that you do a Comic-Con was maybe like 2016, 2017, something like that.
Yeah.
You ever had anyone bring you anything super weird or off to sign? Like,
somebody on that. I've only done maybe 2 or 3 Comic-Cons. I haven't, not something that I dip into that much. But there's a scene, as you'll know, where Raphael, after he's gotten all beat up, he's recovering in a bathtub in this farmhouse.
yes.
And somebody went to the farmhouse, the actual farmhouse where we filmed, and they were just doing a renovation there, and the actual bathtub was there, and they were just smashing it up so they could carry it out. And this guy got a piece of the actual bathtub from the movie and brought it to me to sign.
What went through your head there when you see this oblong piece of porcelain and you know what it was before he said anything?
No.
Did you have were you like, okay?
No, I had no idea. I was like, that's impressive. That's impressive. Like, there were guys there, like there were some guys that big muscular guys, and they had like Raphael, you know, and like an image of Raphael, you know, and
we're a bit of a bunch, man. The Comic-Con people, we get like, I met Hulk Hogan about 5-6 years ago, and I have a really terrible portrait of him right here, and he signed my arm, and the look on his face when he saw the portrait was like combination of, oh, that's ridiculous, brother, and okay, you're a real fan. So like, we're a weird bunch. Like, hey, in this movie in 1986, you were drinking from a blue cup. Well, I bought the same type of blue cup. Can you sign that, dude? That's amazing. That's like someone going to the cabin from Evil Dead and bringing back a piece of a door and having Bruce Campbell sign it.
Totally.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
That might actually have to be the title of this video and article. Is Josh Paiss once signed a piece of the bathtub that he was in for me. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting maybe an inappropriately shaped Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toy or something, you know, that they got like a bootleg or something like that.
And that
is awesome. So I had talked about before, you know, I made a, you know, quick little nod to Committed Impulse. I'm fascinated by the concept of that. What drove you to start it, and tell me about how it's going? I would love to hear from you specifically how that's going, especially right now with, it seems like you're transitioning over to obviously Zoom and everything like that.
Right.
Give me some background on that.
I mean, basically, you know, when I got out of college, I went on a 2-year journey, an exploration of how could I access spontaneity, so that it's not something that might happen. Like, how could I harness it in a sense so that it could be something that I could use in my work? Because every now and then a spontaneous moment would happen, and it seemed so fleeting. And so I really went on this journey, training with people from all over the world. And as a result of that journey, people started asking me, well, could I teach what I've been learning? And I was like, I'm not a teacher. You know, I was just like, I don't teach, I'm not a teacher. But for whatever reason, people kept asking me. And then NYU asked me, New York University, the department there said, could I teach? And I was like, all right, I'll try it. And it turned out that it's just something that I really love, and that I really consider teaching. It's really a laboratory for me in terms of how can I support people to create spontaneously, not from their head, but from the impulses in their body, and that our body holds our genius much more than our limited thinking. And it's just it's a full comprehensive approach to acting. You know, what I was talking about with Stu Feldman about altering the energy patterns in the body. You know, it's like a full way to transform to tools to create character. And, you know, in the past 8 or 9 years, a lot of entrepreneurs and public speakers have been coming because so many people get caught up by judging in their head while they're doing something that it just gets in their way. And so just found real simple tools to get people completely out of their way so that they can do their best work.
Boy, you got me ready to sign up. Jeez. So if someone wanted to read up more on Committed Impulse, where can I find it? On
committedimpulse.com. That's
you got the .com. You got the straight .com.
Yeah, committedimpulse.com. And yeah, I teach, I film a lot throughout the year, but when I'm not filming, I'll teach. And the classes are awesome. They're fun. Right now, with COVID, everything's on Zoom, but it's amazing. I'm surprised how great the classes are on Zoom, because it's like everybody's in a close-up.
Right. It's definitely changed the way that, we do pretty much everything. Everything is on Zoom. School is on Zoom. Work meetings that could be an email are now on Zoom. So, it's nice to see that you've, kind of taken that jump, so to speak, and just kind of adapting with the times. And
Yeah.
it seems, at least from the stuff that I've read, it seems like it's going pretty well for you, which is really exciting.
Amazing, yeah.
Good. Knock on fake brick, of course.
Yeah, man.
There was one question that I didn't submit, and it's a very kind of high level question, but I was just curious. I've been absolutely fascinated with the Joker movie since it came out, and I loved, again, your kind of expletive deleted role in Joker, and me just being a massive comic book fan and collector for 30 years now. That movie really was that really jarred the system for a lot of us who are comic book movie people, because we have the MCU, and then you have Batman versus Superman, and then you have this completely autonomous installment that is of a troubled, truly disturbed, misunderstood human being that is a comic book property, but unlike anything we've ever seen. You obviously played Hoyt Vaughn in that movie. So from what I could tell, at least unless it was movie magic, you got time with Joaquin Phoenix face to face for dialogue and everything like that.
Yeah.
How haunting of a presence is that man when he is in character as compared to how he seems? I'm fascinated by him. I think he's incredible. I love the way that he can emulate energy, much like you. What was that like, being on set there? And how did you think it was going to go? Because it was the largest opening rated R movie, I think, in history or something like that. It
was saying our movie in history, yeah.
Insane. Which, Todd Phillips, obviously a visionary, great at what he does. And I guess akin to the question I asked about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, do you guys have any idea that it was really going to be that much of a powerhouse when you were doing it, or did it seem like something else?
When I had a sense, I knew I just wanted to be involved in it when I heard that Joaquin was playing that part, and that it was going to be kind of filmed very indie New York, very raw. I knew it was a movie that one way that I decide on what I'm going to do is if I would want to see it. And I knew that would be something I would want to see. In terms of working with Joaquin, just so present, so right there. And, everybody knew that he was digging deep in himself, and it made everybody else on set dig as deep as they could as well, because he was going, digging for his A game, and it just made, there was so much concentration on the set on everybody. Usually there's much more chaos on a set and wandering around and eating sandwiches and blah blah blah, and it was just everybody was incredibly in it, incredibly focused. And every time we obviously you know, making a movie, you do many takes of things. And every take that we did, you know, he was a little different, I was a little different, you know, we just found, you know, what the dance was of that scene. And it was just, you know, a fantastic, it was just a fantastic experience. Challenging, you know, hyper present right there, you know, just, and, you know, and Todd is just so masterful. And, you know, it was great to be part of that movie. I just think it's an amazing movie.
All around. And again, just as such a big comic book property fan, and seeing something like that was so well done, you know, because in the comics, you're never really given the Joker's exact origin. You know, there's the Killing Joke, and then there's, you know, a couple other things. And when I heard that they were going to be making almost like a late 70s, early 80s Scorsese Joker film, or whatever you want to call it, I was like, how is this going to work? I'd never heard a theater so silent after a movie got done, and it was packed. Saw it opening night. And there was no cheers, there was no applause or anything like that. I just heard people going, holy shit, like, oh my God. And just like people were just like stunned at the level of performance, the way the movie ended, the twists and the turns. And I think it was a lot of people who were just very surface level, say Batman, you know, Joker fans and things like that. They, you know, Jared Leto's Joker or Jack Nicholson's Joker, you know, each Joker is always contested as which is the best Joker. Right. And, you know, you got Heath Ledger, you got, you know, Cesar Romero, and everyone has, you know, I feel like different versions of the Joker that are great. And I think that for what he did, the troubled, truly misunderstood, disturbed, like, I don't know if there will ever be anyone who can hold a candle to him. So, you know, that was just like seeing you in that movie. It was, I don't know if you see people, though, post the still of Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he's pointing at the TV when he sees something he recognized. I remember seeing you in that scene and going, ooh, and then slapping him like, you know where he was from? And it was just, yeah, I'm trying to watch a movie. And sorry to throw that one out of left field, but I was just very excited when I saw you pop up on screen.
Yeah.
We're in 2021. Things are obviously different. You got back from Ukraine, right?
Right.
I guess that, you know, I would love to, you know, kind of just, you know, what are you working on now? Is there anything that you can talk about, what you got coming out?
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm working, this week I'm filming a TV show called Younger, created by Darren Star, who created Sex and the City. So I've been on that show on and off since its first season. This is the 6th season, the final season. So I'm filming that this week, and then I'm doing something you'll appreciate when it comes out. It's called DMZ, which was also based on a graphic cartoon. And Ava DuVernay, who's an amazing director, is directing this. It's going to be a 4-part miniseries. It's on HBO Max.
Oh, nice.
And it's new, you know, it's 8 years in the future, and the United States has gone into a civil war, and basically Middle America has cut off New York.
Okay.
And New York is a completely, there's no police, it's like gone into a whole different zone where people are claiming territories, and it's amazing.
I like the sound of that.
It's amazing. And
now, is that filming in New York, or is that, say, like off
filming in
LA?
Atlanta?
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So, Georgia is really knocking it dead with filming.
Oh yeah, they have so much going on. And then the other thing I'm doing is a movie that the Safdie brothers are involved with, who did Uncut Gems and Good Time. Those guys, amazing. They're just so smart. They're just brilliant. And it's a movie called Two Against Nature. And so I'm going to be doing that in about a month. We start that.
Very cool. That is amazing. So you still got your plate full despite everything going on?
Yeah. Knock on
firewood.
Knock on firewood. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm working more than ever. And so that's great. Just working, and then when I have a break, I teach. So it's a nice mix.
You're doing what you love, it would seem.
I do. I do. I love it.
Which is the most rewarding thing that you could ask for.
Yeah.
Josh, I cannot thank you enough for your
You're
time.
so
I feel like we
welcome.
logged a good 30, 40 minutes of our first video interview ever. I hope that someday, once the world kind of gets back to, you know, as the giant corporations say, the new normal, you know, hopefully maybe someday we can, you know, get together in person and do another one of these interviews and hopefully catch up with you. I
All right.
really appreciate the opportunity. I can't thank you enough for doing our
Good
first
luck
ever
with
video
everything
interview.
you're doing.
Thank you so much. We're trying to build a community based on facts, on passion, no egos, no rumors, no that sort of thing. So we definitely don't get nearly as many clicks as the big boys do because, ooh, Tobey Maguire's might have been taking a bus to New York City to get, like, we don't want to do that. We want to do stuff that people actually want to hear. So it's a building process. We're completely independently funded. And again, we're just trying to make small little strides, and you being our first ever video interview, and as a fan of, you know, 30 years now, just want to thank you so much for taking the time, and I really hope that I get to run into you sometime in the future.
All right, man. All the best. Good luck, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Josh.
All right.
Take care.